what is the advisor mindset, and what have you seen to be, maybe common deliverables that have come up amongst your clients or other firms that you've worked with?
Gosh, that's the million-dollar question.
Right.
Well, I think that the difference between being an advisor to your clients and just being very compliance-driven has to do with the way that we serve them and direct them. And I'll tell you that, our business is becoming more and more complex. I just got back from 2 weeks in Tokyo, Beijing, and Shanghai, and I was speaking at conferences over there, and we were talking about how the world is getting smaller, but that business is getting more and more complex and more complicated. So if you think about who we're serving and what we're doing, we're serving business owners and business leaders, and we are helping them solve problems so that they can grow their businesses and they can be more profitable and they can deal with all of the complexities of doing business internationally, and they can deal with margin and regulations and all of the things that go with running a business. And so sometimes as financial people or accountants, we put ourselves in a box and we think, gosh, my role is simply to complete a tax return or complete an audit, and that's what we've been taught and what we've worked on. And the reality of it is that's not exactly what business owners need. Business owners are starving to death for advice around how to run their businesses. And again, you don't have to know all of the answers, but if you take yourself out of the box and you think about it, for my clients, how can I help them retain and recruit staff? How can I help them project financials and make decisions that will impact their bottom line for 3 to 5 years? How can I help them come up with ways to be more innovative? Those are the kinds of things that they're looking for. Now, does that mean that you as a CPA have to know how to solve all of those problems? Heck no, there's no way. There's no way that we can all be experts in every area. But if you shift your mindset and you are able to look at your clients holistically and look to them for ways to solve their problems, you are acting as more of an advisor. And in terms of just the kinds of services you might offer, I tell my accounting firm clients to take a look at when you've worked with a firm. Maybe you worked with a startup company and you worked with them for 10 or 15 years, and you may not call that advisory kinds of services, but you helped them grow their firm, or their business. You helped them overcome obstacles and challenges. What are the things that you offered? And if you start to look at different kinds of consulting, whether it's strategic planning or cost reduction or different things like that, in terms of the way you've helped your businesses be successful, that's the first clue in what kind of advisory services you can offer.
Perfect. Yeah, it's interesting that you go down this path to dig into their business a lot more, to see it at every angle. And I love the point of, you might already be doing advisory work, you just don't really realize it just yet, or there might have been one-off projects that had a lot of value, didn't realize it was advisory. Steve, when you've worked with a number of firms internationally as well. When somebody comes to you and they're trying to understand, one, what does becoming an advisor look like or mean, and what are some of the deliverables you see firms introduce? What's your typical frame of reference or perspective when a firm comes to you with that question?
Yeah, well, I'll come back to deliverables in a minute. I've got some very specific ones, which hopefully will translate across the pond. But I mean, I have just to step back slightly. I am a 55-year-old chartered accountant here in the UK. I've been in the profession for almost 30 years. I'm completely and absolutely passionate about this profession. I sweated blood to join it, and I sweated blood to pass those exams because I believe that the accounting profession can make a profound difference to businesses and through businesses to the world. But what was really interesting to me was that over the many years that I've been working with accountants, there's this huge confidence crisis in the profession, certainly on this side of the pond, i.e. the we're only accountants, how can we be advisors crisis of confidence, what I'm talking about. So what I started just over 2 years ago, an 18-month research project, because what I wanted to do was to look specifically at what the difference that accountants are actually making, so that we can try and address this confidence crisis, but also focus in on the services which accountants can readily and easily and quickly and simply deliver that will make the greatest difference. And the end result of that was a book published earlier this year, The World's Most Inspiring Accountants. In fact, it's a bright yellow book, is this one here. And it features 62 case studies of accounting firms from every continent in the world, including lots of firms from the States and Australia and Europe and elsewhere. But what we were specifically looking for were case studies of the difference that accountants had made to their clients. And actually what we found was the difference that accountants are making, regardless of which country they're in, is absolutely profound. It's life-changingly profound in terms of the success of the businesses and the success of the lives of the client, of the people running those businesses, and the wider stakeholder groups that they touch. So the main reason for doing that research was to provide a body of evidence for the accounting profession to say, look, wait a minute, guys, what you are doing is making a profound difference. So stand tall and start going out and doing more of it. So that was the first insight from that what we found, and what was extraordinary in the findings, was that it did not involve, making this kind of profound difference did not involve pulling on Superman's red underpants and becoming some kind of business advisory management consultant guru. Actually, what we found was that the core skills of the accounting profession throughout the world, our core skills with numbers, can in themselves make a profound difference. Now, rather than merely using them to keep the score of transactions which decisions that were made 2 years ago, transactions which happened in a 12-month accounting period, but actually use them for forward-focused purposes. And the process that seems to where we as accountants can make the greatest difference, and I would call it advisory, because if it changes businesses, if it changes results, if it changes lives, if it changes the world, boy, that's not just compliance, is it? It's actually very simple. It's us as accountants using our core skills with numbers to restore rationality into the business decision-making process. Whether they're small businesses or large businesses, most businesses do not make fully rational, fully informed decisions, and as a consequence they get suboptimal results. They get suboptimal profits, suboptimal cash flow, they work too hard, the businesses aren't worth as much as they want them to be, it's frustrating, customer service isn't as good as it should be, and so on and so forth. And yet what we found in the research was that when we as accountants use our skills with numbers to help restore rationality into the decision-making process, and that's a very simple causal chain there. Number one, we help our clients get better, more robust, more reliable data. And of course, cloud accounting and all that wonderful new technology that's out there makes getting better data easier than ever before, but easier for us as accountants, as skilled professionals, to sort of marshal that data. Second element of it then is to wrap around better analysis on that better data, so that it's not just numbers, but it's numbers that make sense, it's numbers that help, and to use that better data and that better analysis to help our clients then make better decisions, because when they make better decisions they'll create better results, they'll build better businesses, they'll enjoy better lives, and we'll collectively experience a better world. And what we found was that alone, that process alone, and there are lots of advisory elements in there, but the joyful thing, the really good news for the profession, is all of that is rooted in the skills we already have, the competencies we have, the confidence that we should have, and crucially, the credibility that we have in the eyes of our clients. One of the biggest mistakes I think that accountants make is that they think they have to pull on Superman's red underpants. They think they have to be some kind of consulting guru, and that's frightening to them, but it's also not very credible in the eyes of their clients. And the reality is that we don't have to do any of that stuff. We need to root our deliverables in our core skills with numbers, restoring rationality, and we will make a much greater difference than we've ever dared to imagine. And then crucially, and I'm sure this links back to what Ron Baker and others would have been talking about, because we can then use our skills with numbers in a way that makes more of a difference to our clients, in other words, creates more value for them, adds more value to them, we can then also bill according to that value, whether you value price in a strict sense, or whether you merely increase your other prices to reflect the fact that you are now more valuable. Either way, we can share in more of that value that we create with our clients. So I think that for me is the key sort of big picture insight, which is that we can do this. This doesn't require us to completely reskill ourselves. It requires us to marshal our skills in a more meaningful 21st century way. We can by all means look at what those services are and those deliverables are, but I think until we understand and buy into that principle, we're never going to do what it takes to really succeed.